Hello. So welcome to this week's books. I will put the total number I read this week somewhere up here. I decided to split this because it's just more manageable for me if I sort of update as I go so that everything's still very fresh in my brain. So I'll start with the first book, which is The Prince and the Dressmaker. I'll show you some of the inside so you can see the illustration style, which I really liked. So I enjoyed the illustration style, and guys, this is so freaking cute. So I rated this 4 stars. It was just so sweet, so adorable. I love the characters. I like the storyline. It just had me smiling ear to ear, and you can't really ask for more than that. Then we've got Simple, Mostly Vegan Kitchen by Ellie Bullen. This is like Elsa's wholesome life person. This is filled with a lot of Instagram-y family photos, which I think is like a thing now. Like a lot of authors like to have a lot of personal family photos, which is cool, but like there's a lot in here. So this isn't for me. There's a lot of like super healthy recipes where it's like, let's sweeten everything with dates and let's use buckwheats and like, do you know what I mean? Those very like clean recipes. And I try to like steer away from that. It just reminds me of my time as a hardcore vegan, and I don't want to go back there to that sort of like orthorexia. So it's not for me. I think I prefer vegetarian books, and if I don't want to have the dairy in it, I'll take out the dairy, you know. So this one, there has a lot of fake vegan meat recipes too, which like is great. If you're a vegan, you'll probably really like this, but yeah, this is sort of more of the same. Like I read hundreds of these while I was vegan, so it's sort of a bit uninspiring for me now. Like I've done all the vegan queso cheeses, I've done all that stuff, and yeah, it's not for me. Hello, I had to change locations because my neighbors started mowing their lawns, and it's too so many cat butts in my videos. Come on. So the next book I read was Normal People by Sally Rooney. And it's pretty much the main reason why I decided to film today, while it's still, you know, very fresh in my brain. So this is a very famous author. I gave this 2.75 stars. What's up, Papa? What's up? You're so cute. I gave this 2.75 stars. Oh, you're going to sit there. That's okay. You can sit there. Isn't she sweet? She's such a sweetie. And that's all for the writing. That is all for the writing. The story, horrible. Plot, horrible. Characters, horrible. Everything, just... The characters waste your time, and the characters waste their own time. Everyone's time is wasted in this book. So this is one of those ones where the grammar, there's no quotation marks for when people are talking, and that is something I really do not like, because for some reason my brain finds it very, very difficult. Just trying not to get cat butts in here for you guys. My brain finds it very difficult to sort of figure out what's internal monologue, what's actually dialogue. So I really am not a fan of that. And then the story itself is just about these 2 kids, a girl and a boy, who've known each other since they were young. When they're in school, she, for whatever reason, is like not popular. And I don't really know why. Is it because she's overweight? I don't know. It's sort of like no one likes her. But she's wealthy, and this boy's mother works as her cleaner. And eventually they start a sexual relationship. But he tells her, don't tell anyone. So it's sort of like this dirty little secret, like he's ashamed. And she has to be kept, you know, behind closed doors. And they just keep being intimate. And then there's like a prom. And then prom comes, and of course he doesn't ask her, he asks someone else. And it's that point where she's like, you know what, I'm out, I'm done. And they sort of break up. And then he sees her again when they're in college, and oh look, she's lost weight, and she's pretty, and she's popular, and she has friends. And they start like messing around again, and it's pretty much just a friends with benefits situation. They just keep getting together, not defining anything, not communicating. They just do not communicate to each other. And then they sort of end things and see other people, and then they get back together and then they see other people. And both of them are really dull and boring. I didn't like either of the characters. And yeah, at one stage she gets into like BDSM, and she likes being like humiliated and disrespected. And it's just really weird. Sorry. She's just so playful and energetic. It was just so monotonous. It was like the same thing ad infinitum, just over and over and over again. Together, not together, together, not together. And it's not like they had amazing chemistry. They're both like, oh, we know each other so well. But they don't. They're constantly not getting each other's messages, and it's just, what is this? And I kept reading it thinking it would get better. Right, it's just, like I said, more of the same over and over again. Hey, Sylv, you having a good time? Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. Okay, so I just finished The Odd Ones Out, How to Be Cool and Other Things I Definitely Learned from Growing Up by James Rallison. I don't know. So it's just a guy who ended up being like a YouTuber and illustrator and just giving kids like advice. It's humorous. It's kind of funny, but I don't know how I feel about it. Honestly, I probably wouldn't recommend it, but I can see why my daughter thought it was hilarious. But yeah, this was a bit of a weird one. Example of some of the pages. I did find it funny. Like I said, it's humorous, but it's just a bit odd, and I guess that's fitting since it is The Odd Ones Out. I just finished Acanthus by Claire Potter. It is a book of poems, and there were actually a few I enjoyed. So I still didn't love it, but there were some that were pretty good. Hello, so I'm currently reading this one by Nikita Gill. I thought I'd just read out this poem. Childhood's End. It happens suddenly. One day your parents don't pick you up anymore. Responsibilities grow. Your mother starts focusing on other things. Maybe a job or a sibling. You grow a bit quieter. Maybe it's because of a thing that happened to you. Whatever the reason may be, one day you are small and hold a world of games inside your chest. And the next, suddenly none of the games make any sense. So I have read Nikita Gill's poetry on Pinterest. That's why I thought perhaps I would like her stuff. This one has quite a narrative. So it is like a story that's progressing, and sort of we're up to her teenage years at the moment, which I don't mind. I do tend to like random poems rather than an actual story in sort of poetry form. But yeah, I do definitely like Nikita Gill. They are a poet that I would read more of their works for sure. So I'm still not going to rate it. Like I said, I can't rate poetry, but this is one I really do like.
Even for my high standards. Haynes was right. You do need.
Hello. So I just finished reading Bright Dead Things by Ada Limon, and it wasn't for me. So the next book I just finished is The Way of Nagomi by Ken Mogi. I gave it 3 stars. It's very average. The writing's not spectacular. It's pretty hard to get into. It doesn't flow that well. There's definitely better books on this topic. So yeah, it's very humdrum. This is Willa. Hi, Annie. Hello. So this is what I have just read. I just read Odd Hours by Anya Bass. So this is about a woman, I think her name is Goshia. I can't remember how to pronounce it, but she sort of works at a supermarket and is like low income and just goes from like sort of job to job, and she starts to dream about sort of her perfect life, and she ends up getting a crush on this guy that sometimes comes to her checkout. It's really odd. It is odd, and it was very average for me, and it just got bizarre. So there was a lot going on in it. There were like, it's got a lot of variated like formats. So at one stage, you know, she writes sort of entries online for poems, and then you get all the comments from people critiquing them, and then she reads like someone's ebook, and it's like Comic Sans font, and they've got tables and stuff. So there's a lot of different like formatting in here, and she sort of reads her roommate's diary. It's just really weird. Like I said, nothing really happens, but it does. There's a little bit of character growth at the end, but barely. She does a lot of questionable things. She's not the most likable main character, and it was just a bit dull and boring for me. With slice of life books, they have to have really good writing, or they have to have really interesting characters for me to enjoy it. Otherwise, I am just sort of bored to tears. It's just too mundane for me, and I don't really care. This started getting odd at the end. Like they started trying to, it's as if the author thought, let's just add some random insane scenes in here to really like shock people. it just felt like there were some scenes that were written just for shock value. They didn't feel very like organic or authentic. There was some like smut in here that just felt very out of place. And I love smut, but I was just like, what is happening right now? So yeah, I think I gave this 3 stars, probably even less, but yeah, that was odd hours. And then we've got Stone Blind, Medusa Story by Natalie Haynes. I DNF'd this. Dude, where's Medusa? Medusa is barely in it. There are so many POVs of like random gods and people constantly, like every single chapter is a different person. So I did not like this at all. It just, the narrative felt really odd and disjointed, and the gods spoke in a very weird way. It was not what I was hoping for. I was really disappointed. I have yet to like find a really great Greek mythology novel that I loved to death, and this unfortunately wasn't it. Then I read Marshmallow by Victoria Hannan. I'll read the blurb. A year ago, the house had been full of life, of noise, of love. Now there were long stretches of silence that settled between them like a fog so dense it made it hard to see a way out, made it hard for them to see each other. He was losing sight of the only thing he'd ever truly been certain about. So this is about 5 friends, and you get all of their POVs, and you know how much I love multiple POVs, guys. I think I rated this around 4 stars. It could have been more. I'll put the right number down below. What brought it down for me was the multiple POVs, especially there were some characters that I felt were really superfluous and they didn't really add anything to the story. So I think with less POVs, this really would have packed more of a punch, but I did cry. So this had me crying. This is about grief. I know I said I don't normally like books about grief. It's not an emotion I kind of want to feel for fictional characters, you know, it's like, it takes a lot out of me. So this one is about loss and how that loss is connected to 5 different people. I can't exactly talk about it without spoiling it. It was pretty intense and I did enjoy it. It was well written. It would have been even more amazing though, like I said, if there were some characters that were omitted, like their POVs were omitted and it was just focused on the other, like maybe 3 of them. I would have preferred that much more. After reading this too, I grabbed this based on the cover, not read the synopsis, didn't know what it was about, thought the title was cute. I cannot look at marshmallows the same way ever again. I can't say more about that without spoiling it, but that's kind of ruined marshmallows for me, this book, to be honest. But this was Marshmallow. And then I read The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And pretty good. So I voted it 4 stars. The reason it's not a 5-star book for me was because I absolutely hated the journalist. I think her name's Monique. I did not like her, could not stand her. She was so arrogant and she kept being presumptuous with Evelyn. And in the beginning, I thought, oh, so this story is about a famous Hollywood actress and she's had 7 husbands and she's been quite a recluse in her later years and everyone's just dying to get some kind of interview with her. She's donating all of her gowns to charity. And there's a journalist who works at a magazine and they've told her that Evelyn has specifically requested her. They don't know why. So she goes and she starts interviewing her and Evelyn starts telling her about her life story and she talks in depth about her husbands, and that's the premise. In the beginning, I thought, why have you chosen this journalist? She's just not getting it. She's not getting you. And she was, oh my gosh, I was getting so frustrated on Evelyn's behalf. I just thought, you can find better, Evelyn. But then at the end, you discover the reason why she chose her. And I really want to talk about some spoilery things in this because I don't think Monique, her anger was justified towards, you know, Evelyn over the revelations. I just felt like Evelyn did the thing that almost everybody would do in that situation and sort of saved both the parties involved in terms of like their reputations. So I felt that the anger was a bit over the top. Evelyn though, I loved Evelyn. She was great. She was very much herself, unapologetic for it. It delves into a lot of like heavy topics. So there's alcoholism, there's domestic abuse, there's sexual exploitation. There's a lot of stuff in this, let me tell you. So it was full on. It was written in a way that is engaging and you'd want to read more. My least favorite chapters were the ones just between Evelyn and the journalist because I couldn't stand the journalist. But otherwise, I thought it was fantastic. I can't recall if this is a spoiler. If it is, I'll edit it out. But you discover that Evelyn is bisexual, which I'm like all here for. and the love of her life was a woman. And yeah, those chapters really got to me. There was sort of some misleading towards sort of what happened between them. I can't, like I said, without spoiling it. But so that was frustrating because I thought, okay, this is what's happened. But then you find out, oh no, that happened. So there's a lot of sad stuff. It's so hard to talk about this book without spoiling it. There was a lot of sad scenes, but I enjoyed it and had a great time. If I remember to do a spoiler section at the end of this vlog, I will, but I'm still a few days away from getting to the end of the week. I hope I remember because, like I said, there's so many things I want to talk about in this book. But yeah, I really enjoyed The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. So here's the goodies I got from our shopping trip. I got this floppy sun hat, which is perfect for summer. I got this T2 advent calendar for my daughter's teacher for Christmas. These maple pancake soy candles, which smelled absolutely divine. T2 had these amazing spoons. I'm obsessed with this measuring spoon and this teaspoon. My daughter got two as well. This one's a tiger and this one's just rainbow. Dimmix had this amazing canvas bag, which I can just fold up and put in my handbag, and it's got a pocket and a zip on the inside, and I am obsessed with it. And then one of my daughter's friends is having a birthday, so we got her this book and this instant snow. And then for little kiddo, she saw this Bad Guys sprayed edges full color version. She loves this series. She also wanted the same crayon Christmas book. And she got this Ruffles and the Teeny Tiny Kittens. She also got this cat bookmark, and we got this for her friend as well. So we also got this for her friend.
It's a squishy, and
it's a squishy sand cat. So that was our little haul today.
Oh, and there was a golden cat and a black cat and a white cat. We got the black cat for my friend.
That's right.
Hello, so I just read Energize, Make the Most of Every Moment by Simon Alexander Ong. It was okay. It's like 3 stars. It's pretty average, but it's easy to read, and yeah, I got a little bit from it. Nova. I also read The Bookstore Sisters by Alice Hoffman, and I gave this 4 stars. It was a little cute, short but sweet novella about 2 sisters whose father used to run a bookshop, and then they there's some family grief and trauma, and they part ways, and then the story of them like trying to find their way back to each other. And yeah, there were some really sad moments, and I did tear up. But yeah, it was really touching and really enjoyable for such a short story.
Hello, so I just finished reading The Big Book of Tarot by Joan Bunning. It's pretty in-depth. It's quite substantial, so I think if you're a beginner too, it's quite accessible, easy to read, so I would recommend if you're a beginner. Hello! So I just finished reading Joan Didion's The Year of Magical Thinking. Yeah, I'm not going to read it because I don't know why the universe is just somehow sending books about grief my way, but the writing's great, but I just can't read it because it's about grief, and I just cannot read any more books about grief. So hopefully from now on I need to read blurbs so I know what I'm getting and I'm not just picking a book based on the cover. So yeah, it's like I'm interested to read more of Joan Didion's work, hopefully one that's not centered around grief. I don't know, I'm not really familiar with her stuff, but yeah, I'm just not reading this one because I just cannot. Hello. Sorry about the cat farts, guys. I just read By the Hidden Culture, History and Science of Bisexuality by Julia Shaw. It's okay. It was like reading a report, to be honest. It was quite fact-heavy and the writing was really dry. So, I don't know, with my non-fiction, I sort of need a bit more than just like facts. You know, I need some storytelling, some entertaining aspect, so I don't feel like I'm reading a textbook, like a study book that I'm not in school. So I'd probably rate it 3 stars. It's not quite what I was hoping it would be.
Did you get that?
Hello. So I have just read Find Your Goddess by Skye Alexander. I gave this 3 stars. It is very, very, very simple and concise. They pretty much talk about the goddess and the mythology. So they pretty much, it's categorized into like 3 things of the mythology and history of the goddess's virtues, and how to manifest her power, well, their powers. And like I said, it's very brief, very simple. So if you don't have any experience with goddesses, it's probably a really good beginner's book, but for me it was just a bit too basic. Then I read The Undertaking of Hart and Mercy by Megan Bannen. I gave this 3.75 stars. So this is about, it's set in a magical world where there were like old gods and now there's new gods, and some people sort of are demigods. So you've got Hart, he's a demigod, and I can't remember what the term was, like a ranger or something. So he tries to protect the citizens from souls that inhabit deceased people, and then like sort of zombify them and go on rampages. And you like kill these zombies by piercing their appendix, because that's where the souls reside, supposedly. So, and then there's Mercy, and she is an undertaker. And basically these two got off on the wrong foot like 4 years ago. So since then they hated each other. Like that is probably the dumbest aspect of this book, that 2 human beings couldn't just be like, hey, we got off on the wrong foot yesterday, let's be professionals and, you know, just be polite. But no, they hold grudges and they act like toddlers. So that's the premise of their like feud. He doesn't like her, she doesn't like him, even though he's ridiculously attracted to her, like to the point where it was a bit cringe, the amount of like sexual thoughts that he would have about her constantly. And I'm like, okay, right off the gate, I'm like, if you find her that attractive, I'm sorry, but like, you're not keeping this feud going if you're like that into her. Anyway, so it's the progression of sort of their relationship. What happens is, the whole premise of the book is that he writes a letter to a friend. He just addresses it dear friend, and basically just tells him like how lonely he is. And there's this bunny Basarius mailman, like, so, you know, there's like a few different types of magical creatures also in this book. And he delivers it to Mercy, even though it's not addressed to anyone. The bunny says, like, it's addressed by the heart, from the heart. So she gets this anonymous letter, and then she writes back anonymously, and they exchange all these letters, not knowing that it's, you know, the 2 of them the whole time. But a lot of the other stuff does happen. I like the progression of their relationship. I thought it was really cute and adorable. I like the world and the magic system. The way it sort of started picking up at the end was really cool. Especially I like anything to do with these new gods. They're very, very fascinating. But I enjoyed it, and yeah, so I gave it 3.75 stars. Then I read Bunny by Mona Awad. I gave this 3 stars. Guys, this is like a fever dream. There are so many nonsensical sentences like, does gynecological hand gestures, what does that mean? What is a gynecological hand gesture? I'm like trying to I don't know what that means. So there were a lot of just really weird phrases. The narrator is really unreliable. For a lot of it, I was like even thinking, is this happening, or is this like sort of all in her head and she doesn't actually, it's not reality. So there's a whole, you don't know what's real, what's not. She's a writer at this university, in this writing sort of program with these other girls who sort of like are a mean girls clique. They call themselves the bunnies. They just keep calling themselves Bunny, I love you, Bunny, oh my god, Bunny, which like buff. They're a little like almost Stepford wives, but like in their own aesthetic, and it's a bit culty, and she sort of ends up becoming friends with them and going down this real Alice in Wonderland wacky, really just wacky shit. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. I was left feeling basically just really confused and almost like had a headache. But I didn't feel like I should give it 2.75 stars. I felt like that was too low. So I have given it 3. But it was just like, what the fuck, bro? Like, what is this? I know some people love it, some people hate it. I'm very ambivalent about it. Then I actually DNF'd a book. So I DNF'd All Roads Lead Here, or something like that. Obviously, I'll have the book up. And oh my God, so this woman just got divorced. She goes back to her hometown. She rents an Airbnb for a month. She gets there. This dude just comes in. She screams. He starts screaming like, what are you doing in my house? Get the F out of my house. Turns out his son or child has rented it out to her without him knowing. He just starts screaming at his kid, totally ignoring the woman. He's like, you gotta leave, get out of here. So he's being an absolute prick, dickhead, asshole. And then she just starts begging and pleading, please, please let me stay. I'll pay you 3 times the amount. And at that point, I'm like, what? Do you have no money management skills? Like, why would you start begging this absolute ogre and then throwing cash at him to stay in this horrible environment when you could just get your bags, go to a hotel and find another Airbnb? It's not that hard. Like, my mind was boggling. At that point, I'm like, she cannot be serious right now. But no, she was. And he was just he lets her stay, but he's a dick about it. He's like, I better not see you. And I'm like, no, this is the love interest. Just, no, man, this is just insane. Like, I cannot read a book with these two people, like, falling in love. He's an a-hole and she's an idiot. No, so I DNF'd that so freaking fast. And like I said, I think with contemporary romances, I might stick to just like book type people. I don't know. It's the only one I've liked. I'm going to try another Emily Henry because, you know, I liked that Book Lovers book. But well, yeah, that was just awful. Then I read Keeper of Enchanted Rooms by Charlie N. Holmberg. I gave this 4 stars. So in this world, there are 11, I think, types of magic, and you can have 1 or 2 types of magic, and they get sort of passed down through families, but they're sort of whittling out. They're getting diluted and less people have magic. You've got this sociopath, so you follow him, and he's a necromancer, and he's figured out a way of stealing other people's magic. So he's just collecting all the different, you know, magic badges, so to speak. So you've got him doing that thing. And then you've got Merritt, who's just been inherited an enchanted house. And on his first day there, the house tries to eat him. So then this other organization that sort of tries to protect magic and preserve magic, especially enchanted houses and items, send Hulda his way to determine what magic the house has. So they've got to figure out which of the branches it has and how it has magic and that sort of thing. So she's trying to unravel that mystery. She's very uptight, prim and proper. He's a roguish cad, and I love their dynamic straight out the gate. It's a slow burn romance. I'm here for it. I adored their relationship. The reason for the house's magic pulled on my heartstrings. It's not what you expect. I absolutely loved that angle. That was gorgeous. The sociopath and their storylines end up intertwining. So there's a lot of hijinks, a lot of, you know, drama and near-death experiences. Yeah, I just really loved it. It was sweet and dark. And if you've read Charlie and Holmberg's work, then you'll like this. That being said, I hated Star Mother and Starfather, but some people might find it a little slow and a little bit dense at times, I guess the writing, but I really enjoy it. And I'm excited to continue on with this series in this magic world. There's a lot of things, yeah, that really I found intriguing. Hello, so I've read 2 more books. This is the last day of my week. One of the books I read is Bride of the Shadow King by Sylvia Mercedes. I gave this 4 stars. It's a very cliche fantasy book where there's a princess who's sort of like the unpopular princess or the ugly duckling, whatever have you, and their father is trying to marry off, you know, one of his daughters to a prince of another kingdom who's not human. In this case, he's a troll, but it feels more like fae. And so neither of them want, you know, to be married to each other, but they have to form the alliance. And there's like deception and sort of like an enemies to lovers gist. But I still enjoy it. It's very formulaic. It's very cliche and nothing like new or, you know, out of the box, but it does what it does, and that is entertain me. So I am going to continue reading in the series while it's still fresh in my mind and see how it progresses. Then I read Curse of Blood and Stone, which is in the Fate and Flame series by K.A. K.A.Tucker. So I gave this 3 stars. I read the first book a long time ago. I did give that 4 stars. It's sort of a thing where a woman from our world, New York, a thief, somehow finds herself in the body of an elf in another land, engaged to a prince, you know, who wields magic, and ends up being part of some prophecy and trying to figure out her place in this world. And her and the prince are like fighting attraction to each other. And once again, a sort of standard, you know, fantasy book. So this is the second in the series. And to be honest with you, I'm still really confused as to what the heck is going on. Once again, what happens sometimes with books that I read so far apart is just there's no momentum going forward. And unless the second book is really amazing and gets me into it, my intrigue wanes and I give up. So that is the case with this book. Unfortunately, I just didn't find it interesting enough. I'm not that invested in the characters. I don't think I'll be continuing on with this series. So yeah, I think I read a total of about 21 books this week, which is a lot. And that's just because I'm spending all of my free time reading and I haven't been working. So I have a lot of free time. And I've just been trying to rest I've had a lot of chronic fatigue lately and it's kind of wiped me out. And I just dedicate all my energy to, you know, taking care of the kids and keeping the household running, and sort of anything else on top of that I've just let go of. And so yeah, reading has become my thing and I'm just gonna go with it. This is like my month of reading. This is my book phase. So with next week's TBR, I'm going through my want to read list on Goodreads and I'm working my way up from the ones that I've put on long ago. So the oldest editions, I'm trying to get through them, and a lot of them are like sequels or the 3rd or 4th or even 5th in a series. And I'm not going to go back and reread the series because I just don't want to spend my time reading books I've already read. So I'm just going to jump in and hope for the best. I'll also read some new books that come out that I've requested at the library and anything else that sort of tickles my fancy. But I am trying to get through my online to be read list. I don't like it being over 100 books. It's sort of just, it feels like a to-do list that hasn't been done. And that annoys me. So I'm trying to just go through it. I'm going to be pretty harsh with DNFing in terms of if I'm not enjoying it, like I said, after 30, 40, 50 pages, out it goes. There are just so many great books out there and I don't want to waste my time on mediocre ones. It's because there's really just this magic feeling. You just know when you pick up a book and you instantly get absorbed in it, it just clicks. And you're like, this is the feeling that I want. Why do I push myself with other books that I don't have this feeling with? Like, unless it's a nonfiction book, I almost never get that sort of like amazing feeling from nonfiction books. Nonfiction books for me are like ways to study and learn and increase my knowledge and life skills and all that sort of thing. But with fiction books, I'm like, man, I'm just going to be chasing that magic. So that's everything for this week. I hope you're having a stellar morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. And as always, stay wild, star child.